and Mrs. Hello. And Mrs.
So, good evening, everyone. Maz is okay here. I hope you all are doing very well. This evening is more or less a part two or a follow up of my video yesterday. As it is customary to this station, I would want to say good evening, everyone, wherever you're watching me from. I know you can hear me loud and clear, and if you're watching me from, let's say you're watching me from the US, I know I have people watching me from America, from all over Europe, and from Nigeria here, and some of you in Asia as well. Now, what I'm going to do this evening, someone is already giving me thumbs down. Exactly. It's funny. Um, what I'm already going to do this evening is if you have bad energy, if you don't like the topic, please, it's not by force. You mustn't watch me. But you can easily go away and watch something else. But this evening, as a continuation of yesterday's um, broadcast, what I want to do this evening is for the first time call that the Igbos and the Yorubas must forget however nasty the past was, that whatever has happened regarding Zik and Awolowo, they must forget that and forge ahead. Yes, we know, like I said yesterday, Nigeria was rigged to fail. And this evening, I have more videos here that I will be playing with us, analyzing how we got into this mess, and eventually, and have you have your say, where we will, think and know how we would eventually get to um, solve this problem. Okay, because it is a quagmire. We are indeed in a quagmire where, as we speak, we don't know where we are heading because something is skewed. When I say skewed, it is skewed against us. The system is skewed against us. Everything is skewed against us, you know, and we must, as collective, come together to do something about this skew. Now, thank you very much. I think I have here Kelvin. Kelvin said that he's watching from Senegal. Kelvin, thank you very much for watching from Senegal. I hope you are doing well, Kevin. I hope Senegal is fine. And someone is playing with the thumbs button. He presses thumbs up, he presses thumbs down. But please, I said before, if you have bad energy, please take your bad energy somewhere else. You know, but here it's not, we don't have bad energy. We know things are not working, but we must continue to enlighten ourselves to be informed in order to fight this battle. The battle ahead of us is enormous, and this battle, the battleground has shifted. The battleground is now here. The battleground is no longer with, um, you know, you know, guns and bullets. The battleground has shifted. Okay, so on that this evening, I would start by saying, and honestly, someone, okay, again, I make this appeal for the last time. If you know you don't want to watch what I'm saying, please, you're free to go. You're free to go watch something else. Put on your TV. Put on your, whatever you have at home. You mustn't watch me, okay? But here is a station where we want to explore facts. Okay, for those of you that's giving me thumbs up, let me play a DJ sound for you. That means, hey, Yeah, that's for you guys. So we are rocking it. So if you know you're ready for this evening, can you smash the like button by hitting it up? Let's give those with negative energy, negative vibe, let's yank them off the station here. So this evening, people, what I'm going to be looking. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's for you once more. Yeah. So here, let's look at this thing. I'm going to be still be talking about harassment again, and because there are new videos that are found, then we going to take this more and look at it more into how we got into this mess. And I was very careful to choose this title. This title is, you know, there was a deliberate if I look at this title of if I look at the title of this and look at what Femi Fani Kayode wrote this morning, where Femi Fani Kayode said that Nigeria must apologize to the Biafrans, that Nigeria must apologize to the Igbo nation for the injustice they've done by killing 3 million of their women, um, the young, the old, men, women, civilians, 3 million of them. Now, in that article, actually, it's very instructive because Femi Kayode went further to say that the whole thing, the whole thing happening in Nigeria, that even leaders, in his words, that leaders from the southeast, from the Midwest, and leaders from the southwest were involved in the atrocities that happened. He didn't mention name, but he said, like, the using starvation as a weapon of war. He didn't say that, but everyone knew that as finance minister, that Awo was the one who was in charge, and that starvation was used as a weapon of war. We knew the role played by Adekunle, the scorpion. We knew the role played by the one they used today and the one the international airport, Lagos Murtala Mohammed International Airport is named after. We knew and we all know the role that they all played. So, but these are historical facts. You can't change them. You and I are alive today. I am Igbo, unapologetically. Nothing you can do about it. Sorry. Unapologetically Igbo. So,
Welcome to the
however,
program.
in moving forward,
May I say how
we
delighted
must
we are to be on
somehow
Passion. We've
come
looked
together
forward to speaking
and begin
to an
to look
African
at those
television
things
station
where
for decades.
our
This is
forebearers
something
made
we have looked
mistakes
forward
and
to
see how
for
we
such a long
can
time.
make
We're so
amends.
happy to be
Because if
here.
you look at
Thank
it
you.
today, many of us are in their
Mr.
40s
Aaron
and their
Smith
early
was a
50s.
young, bright,
So
and
what it
principled
means
Oxford University
is
graduate
that
who was recruited by the
we
colonial office
we
and posted to
are
Nigeria.
now like them.
He took his
The
final
decisions
examination
we
a
make
year ahead of
today
his class.
is
He
what our children
Mr.
and
Carol
our
Smith,
grandchildren
whom he
will
met while they
use
were
to
both
judge
at
us.
Oxford University.
Now, we are
Together
now
they went to
judging
Nigeria where they had their
those
two children.
before us. We are judging
Mr.
them
Aaron
based on
Smith, you were
historical
featured on a
facts.
program
Today, in the
recently
next
by
20, 30,
BBC
40
Radio
years,
4
they would judge us
titled
when the
Document,
strength
and
no
that was
longer
hosted by
is
Mr.
there,
Mike Thompson.
when the strength has failed us.
You are
The only
alleged
thing,
that
if
the
internet,
British government
still
rigged
the
the
YouTube you know
first
today,
and most
if it's
important
still
election
there
in the
in
history of
next
Nigeria
30
in
years,
1959
you can have
in
a
favor of the
reference
North.
point.
Am I
We
correct?
can say, okay, yes, go back to this date
How long
in
were you in
2000
Nigeria?
in 2000 and
From
this in this year or this
We're
time.
so happy.
This is what this person said. This is what this person did. Okay, so again, like I was saying, what this evening is all about is to look at once more how we got there. How did we get into this mess? Now, let me get back to Harold Smith here. Harold Smith, and who is that man? As I explained yesterday, Harold Smith, was a bright British young chap then in the 50s, who an Oxford graduate. There he met his wife. You see what the video on top on sorry, the video here. You would the video here. You would I will let that video play in a moment. Now, this man, one of the interviews he was asked what was his role in all this, and he made some striking, a statement. The statement, while I was thinking about it about 2 hours ago, it brought to my mind the reason why Festus Odumegu, Google him. Festus Odumegu was the former managing director of Nigerian Breweries. When he retired, he was given the DG of Nigerian Population Commission. Now, Festus Odumegu made one reckless comment one time that he said that he doesn't believe that the Nigerian population is right, that he thinks Nigerian population was rigged. There are things I can say now as Mazi because there are positions I do not occupy. But there are positions I will occupy as someone who is Onyibo, as someone who knows where he's coming from. There are things I will not say public, but I might go back to act on them, to correct them. So, by the virtue of the position that Goodluck Jonathan gave Festus Odumegu, one would have expected that Festus Odumegu, remember the last time we had census in Nigeria is 2006. Another census was due in 2006. In 2006 we had the last census. Another census was due about 10 years later. And in preparation to do the next census, Festus was brought in. And he obviously have looked at documentations, knew this is a region that was almost 2 times this area that is the mangrove, the savanna, that is almost 2 times the other side. Suddenly, the British did their abracadabra, and suddenly we swapped places. Yes, I agree. Their numbers may be higher because in these days they marry 4 wives, divorce as many as they can, and have as many children as they can. After all, they say there is no age of marriage in Islam as long as a child's body is ripe. When they say that, you see how these are abusers. How can you basically say that when a child is ripe and you're looking at seductively a 10-year-old or 11-year-old? I mean, that is criminal. However, let me not get into that. So Festus Odumegu failed in what he came to do. Hence, if you remember that time, I think Kwankwaso, that was when they had the issue with MPDP, the new PDP. So they were saying, they told Goodluck all sorts of things, that this guy, if you're going to get the northern vote for your re-election in 2014, 2015, Festus must go, blah, blah, blah. And eventually, Goodluck pushed Festus Odumegu, and Festus won. But where am I driving? Why did I mention Festus? Festus stumbled on the document, on the fraudulent document of all the census that have done, that the British has done. Because he stumbled on this document, sadly, he made them, he on Channels TV, I think, he slipped and he made this comment. And many of us that time said, no, it was wrong. Because you knew why you were brought in. And there was, in my analogy then, there is one thing I called the triangle. In order to cage Nigerians, in order to control the population, is actually like a triangle. At the top of that triangle is where you have in today's world, you call it, you have your national ID card. On the other side, you eventually, with your national ID card, you have what we call the social security. And you will now have your BVN, your driver's license, or your international license. What it meant was that every single Nigerian, and it's very easy to do, every single Nigerian that is above the age of certain, when a child is born, you want that child must be registered. If that child does not have a national identity card from age of maybe 6 months, that means that child cannot go to school. That child cannot go to hospital. So that child has to be registered. You know, many of you that live in Europe or in other countries who understand what I'm saying. You give birth to a child in England. I think after 3 weeks or thereabout, if that child is not registered, bear in mind that child already is in the system from the hospital. But the hospital, the government does still not consider that good enough. So what they do is they force you to register that child. During the Labour time, when Labour was in government in England or the United Kingdom, what they actually did was they had what they call the Child Trust Credit. If you give birth to a child, this child, I think as of that time, was £250 paid into the child's account. What it means is you know that this child exists. If this child dies, you know that this child is dead. So in Nigerian's case, it was a case of if we had people who were genuine, if not that they wanted to rig the system, what you needed to do was to say, okay, in this case, in that triangle, Nigeria, what you then have to do is now take every child that is, when a mother gives birth to a child, pay that child 10,000 naira. It doesn't matter if your father is a millionaire or a billionaire. One thing it will do is it will help for the poor to, whenever they give birth to a child, it will force them to go to the hospital or to the local government to get that child registered in order for the child to get a biometrics to say this is the child's identification number. That child's identification number, when that child turns 18, the child can now maybe start getting 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, whatever the case is, if the child is not working. But by doing that, what it means is if you start today, in the next 10 years, you would have eliminated and been able to get everything and all the data you need, because you must be futuristic in your thinking. Then for those of you in the diaspora, it's not an issue, because most of you in the diaspora, is either you have your international passport, you already know, so it's a question of registering yourself. You can register twice because it's biometrics. Imagine, for instance, where as a nation, you have that triangle, you have someone with national ID card. That national ID card is linked in, if you have a bank account, your BVN is linked to it. That same, your driver's license is linked to your national ID. Everything is all interlinked. Your international passport. One thing it will do, one, it will reduce crime. Two, it will help you get a grip. Suddenly, some states that said, oh, in this election, they gave the president 5 million votes. It will disappear because there is no way it's going to happen. If if you understand what I mean, it will definitely disappear. All this population thing, and I keep saying it, I do not for 1 second believe that Nigeria is up to 120 million. The North is lying. Also, according to the last census, the South has also joined them in the line. I remember in 2006, I was still in Germany, but in that 2006, I was counted in my village. My brothers who lived in Lagos were counted, and so many of you, my friend from Oshobo, also said that the same thing happened. Even one of them told me that in Ibadan, they had to pay the population commission people to inflate the number so that Oshobo will be greater than the next town. So that, when they share allocation, they will get more. You see, that is because it is a nation that is only based on sharing, not generation. That's why. If you want to destroy the whole population nonsense, If you have 5 million people, that means whatever you should be contributing to the federation should be more. Suddenly you will see everybody run away now. Oh, we are no longer 5 million, we are 2.5. You see, it's because the whole injustice is rooted and anchored in that numbers that does not add up. That's why. Imagine, it's only Lagos that you can actually today say, okay, the population tallies with what they generate. The only self-sustaining states. Every other state, they can tell you, oh yeah, we have 4 million people. We have 2.5 registered voters. That is arrant nonsense because we are not telling ourselves the truth. If we are telling ourselves the truth, you will know that where they do elections, and obviously we see it in sometimes even within the South, you can frown because there is no way now you here you will see a child that is 10 years old standing in line with you within the South. I mean, we have a sense of justice, or rather we have this sense of universal justice and something that is not right. You will frown at it. But I had a friend who served in Nasarawa, said as a youth corps they were used for the INEC election, and he saw people, children that he knew they would be between 11 and 14, between 11 and 14, and he said, "What are they doing in the line?" His colleague touched him, said, "You shouldn't say anything before they dagger them here," and he was like, "Hey, how can we accredit 11, 14-year-old, whatever?" And he insisted. Before he knew it, he saw people came, talks come around and started saying, Omo, Inyamri, Inyamri, or whatever. And the other guy called him aside and said, no, you see, you have to go out a little bit so that this de-escalate, you come back. And by the time he went out for the de-escalation to happen, because they now thought that the Nyamri, that is the southern person, is going to spoil their business, he left. And those children between the ages of 11 and 14 voted. But it is almost an impossibility for the same to happen. That doesn't mean that in the South there is no election rigging. Don't get me wrong. But there is this, collective sense of community where people tend to, talk about things that are not right, not the other way around. Having said that, and let me put that in context here. Having said that, now just oppose that to the same thing that was asked, the same conversation with Harold Smith. Now he said, and Harold Smith said that when he assessed Nigeria, and I quote him, he said, this was what we found in the southern region. In the southern region, according to Harold Smith, not me, he said, we found strength, intelligence, determination to succeed, well-established history, complex but focused lifestyle, great hope and aspirations. Now, pause for a moment. You bombarded the people for 3 good years, destroyed everything, farmland, did everything you did to their women, massacred them, over 3 million dead, destitute. All you did, you gave them 20 pounds, irrespective of how much they had. You gave them 20 pounds. Now, if these words by Harold Smith does not define a people, that after you gave them 20 pounds in order to hold them down, in 10 years, they sprang and even overtake those people that gave them 20 pounds. Imagine, for instance, if you, I don't know, many of you, it's good to travel. If you have gone to like Kaduna, Katsina, or sometimes if you're driving from Abuja, you want to maybe go to Jos or Kaduna, when you drive like for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, no single sign of life. 20 minutes, no single, nothing. 30 minutes, nothing. Yet these were those that decided to give you only 20 pounds. But with these 20 pounds, you can see the wonders. With these 20 pounds, they cannot even compete in the 8 states within Abuja.
They can't even compete, but they gave you 20 pounds. Now, these were the words of Harold Smith, not mine. He said he saw in these people within the southern region, they saw strength, intelligence, determination to succeed, well-established history, complex and focused lifestyle, great hope and aspiration. This same southern Nigerian that includes the whole south, that means the southwest, the southeast, the south-south, and partly some of the middle belt. That's why they can leave the shores of Nigeria and go somewhere else without their father, without their mother, and they succeed. And in 5 years' time, you start hearing their names. They are smart because whenever they travel, no one is holding them down. Isn't, like I said yesterday, isn't it criminal for you to destroy a child from Anambra State, for instance, and tell that child that she or he needs to score 139 to get into a unitary school? Then that child scores 138 and will be crying, my parents will kill me. I have failed my parents. I have failed myself. I have failed my community. A child that scored 138. You go to another state up north. The child scores 4. The child scores 6. The child scores 9, 12, 19. The child gets admission. I liken it to getting someone in JSS 1 and getting someone in XS3 and put them in the same class. It is injustice of monumental proportion because it does not work. It is because of the same thinking. That's why we now have JAMB. When we took JAMB, I think cutoff mark was about 240. But the thing keep plunging back rather than increasing, rather than improve. Because we want to drag ourselves in order to accommodate certain set of people. The same thing we've been doing when Anthony Nahoro in 1954 moved for motion for independence. In 1957, the South said we were ready, and sometimes I regret it till today that they didn't insist and go. Imagine that these, the Yorubas, that means the Southwest, the Midwest, the old Eastern region, imagine that they had a nation of their own. Because they love education. Look at who owns all the banks in Nigeria, almost the Niger Delta. It's not because they have the money, but it's because something here. Look at Cecilia Ibru, look at Jimovia. All of them are from the Niger Delta. Look at, you look at, what's it called? The other guy, the Yoruba guy, I think is GTB or what. Then look at Pascal Dozier. It's, people are thinking how it's trying to survive. Trying to survive. But here you have another section that was configured, that was rigged to help you make sure that this nation fails. And that failure has been happening since 1960 till date. It's been happening for 60 good years. 60 good years the failure has been happening. There must be a limit to say, hey, this failure, we must have to address it because we cannot continue in this way. The population was obviously rigged. If I go back to what Harold Smith said, now, and you would agree with me, and he said, again, that the East, that means the East then, it comprised the old Eastern region. The East is the old Eastern region, includes the today's Niger Delta. The East is good in business and technology. I mean, this is like, when I read these things now, the things he wrote in 1957, if I feel somehow, if he's talking to me today, I wasn't born in 1957. Don't look at me, my wrinkles, and think I'm that old. No, oh, people, come off it. I'm not that old. So, okay. So, and I read this, and I'm thinking, so they knew the East were, the East is good in business. Is it by accident that the East dominates Alaba International Market? Is it by accident that the East dominates Day in Abuja? Is it by accident that the Sabongeri in Kano is dominated by the East? Is it by accident? It is inherent. Their motto, leave, let me leave. I keep saying. Can we please say the whole nation, if you want your child to go to university, 200 cutoff or 240 cutoff, make it level playing field. It's actually like one of my good friend Adam, Adam, who is from Kaduna, actually agreed. The North is hurting themselves, shooting themselves in the foot by the virtue of the fact that they are supporting this abnormally. You are not helping a child. Let us, for instance, your child comes back from school. You look at the child. He scores 39 over 100. You don't go clapping for that child. My daughter once asked me, Daddy, why do I think she did something and she scored about 85. I said, well, that's good, but that's not good enough. And one time she called me and said, Dad, but why do you keep saying it's not good enough? But I have people that scored 65, 70. I said, but you're not those people. You're not those people. You are who you are. You are my daughter. And 85, I mean, if someone could score 100, if someone could score 95, they don't have two heads. What you're doing is to push them. So for the North to agree to lower score is actually indirectly accepting that they have failed and with no atom of helping themselves. Because since 1960 to 2020 is 60 years for you to have worked on the educational disadvantage. But rather, what we should, if we are talking about, this is 2020, what one would be expecting is, if you're saying, okay, Anambra is so good, okay, Anambra 139, then if you're from Yobe, maybe 125, 120, even, let's for argument's sake, let's say even 100. I mean, you know that 100, if you put them in a class, if someone is smart, he can actually brush up. But if you put someone with 3 or 4, with someone who has scored 140, because remember 139 is cut off. It's not that what you're supposed to. So you get someone who is so brilliant and they scored 180. You get someone who is 10. I mean, this is what the Bible said, unequally yoked. This person just, it's going to hold you down forever and ever. And the danger is, when someone is down and holds you down, he stays down as well. I once argued with a friend of mine. I said, listen, you see, my worldview is different. If the government wants, let them go and develop Katsina and Kaduna. We know those that will supply them the materials they will use, and we know those, when it comes to even doing the mortgage and buying the properties, we know those that will buy. The problem is you don't want to even develop your own, and you don't want others to develop. Like the analogy I gave with the wharf, and when I called out Tinubu, I said if the fact that when the Yorubas were, well, not the Yorubas, but some Yorubas, some uninformed Yorubas, like the video I made about a week or 2 weeks ago, that cried that the Igbos are buying properties in Lagos and buying everywhere. And I said, did the Igbos take them by force? No. Someone is in your forest, not paying you to sleep in your forest and ravaging your farms, but you're not saying anything. But here you are, have an issue with a man who has paid you, a man, your forefathers gave only 20 pounds. But here that 20 pounds, I liken it to giving someone a lime and he made lemonade out of it. So don't be jealous. So if you actually progress in that way, then you begin to understand. So you begin to understand. I mean, like someone is saying in the comment section that we don't learn history. And part of what I decided to use this channel to do is to constantly use this platform to educate us. If they, you know, the way we've been brainwashed that we keep hitting ourselves is not the way to go. Now, here we are. I have, oh, thank you very much. God bless you. God bless you real good. Emmanuel Abiodun Ogundibe says, the day the Yorubas and the Igbos will cooperate, then it is either a peaceful separation or beginning of a new Nigeria. Oh, listen, I play you this.
Let me play this for you. You broke the table. I tell you, Ogundibe, you broke the table. That is the point. And the reason why I carefully made this presentation, I'm making this presentation this evening, is that we must begin to understand that the Yorubas and the Igbos are not cooperating is not by accident. It is an orchestrated thing. It is planned to hold the Yorubas and to hold the Igbos down. That's why the Southwest and the Southeast is not cooperating. Imagine, for instance, the whole Southeast and the whole South and the whole Southwest says, if we do not reform, if we don't do restructure, we are not going to vote. Not this, we'll be talking about useless APC and useless PDP. No. You don't restructure, we are not voting. You collapse the system. If they want, let them be. Be on your own, for Christ's sake. That is what we are talking about. Huh? Again, Ogundipe, once more, that's for you. So, you see what I'm talking about? So, and the reason why I want to address this evening with this topic is, if the Yorubas and Igbos, that they must forgive and forget the past. It hurts me when when my Igbo brothers say, oh, Yorubas are not to be trusted. I laugh. And I ask, who is Fadeyi? Who gave his life? Who gave his life for Agui Ironsi, who was head of state? He said, no, before you get to the head of state, who is my visitor? As the governor of that state, you must first pass through me. And they shot him. We only look at the bad side. Yes, as Femi Kayode wrote today, please go to his page. And I think Njenje Media is working on it. Maybe by tomorrow they will post it. Please come back and you listen to it. As Femi Kayode said, we have evil men everywhere. After all, Aton Zeribe is Igbo, but he worked against Abiola. Would the Yorubas ever then hold that against Igbo? No. He worked against the interest of Igbo. But you're forgetting again, if the Yoruba does that, they will be making a grave mistake, because they will now forget people like Okwadike, Dr. Chukwemeke Ezife. They will be forgetting people like Aton Wankwo. They will be forgetting, what's it called? The other one that eventually died, the human rights activist. Is it Obani? Is it? I can't remember the name. But there are plenty of them. So what we should begin to do, the new generations, is we must stop the hate. That's why it hurts me. And I say, when someone says, oh, if you go to Yoruba church, you this. And I'm like, oh, why they not force you? There is Igbo churches everywhere. Just like as me. Whatever you say, if it's a Yoruba church, as if it's an Igbo church, you reach make you pay tithe, make I bring my money. Na lie, my name no dey that book row. One lie, because my eye don't open. So it's not a must. But you can actually say, because I once had an argument with a redeemed pastor who said I'm for the records, about 2 billion naira leaves the east to Lagos. And you see, this is not fight, but he's here. They built churches. See the funny part. If you look at all of them, smart, when they want to build university, you know that there is a limit to spirituality. They'll go to their villages. But who cares? If you think you're mumu, that you want to put your money for them to do it, then fine. It's actually being smart. If some to do the same thing, why are you not patronizing the Gregory University in Uturu, owned by an Igbo, and is doing excellently well, one of the best? But you will go to the other side and you still be complaining. Therefore, the same way I feel that you have the right to do whatever you want to do, it is your right. But what we must do is to have conscious effort. That's why I applaud what Ohaneze and the Afanifere leaders are doing. For the first time, to come together to bring the people together. Because there has been bad, narrations happening from here and there. And the people behind it are very minute. The population is immaterial. The population is very minute, honestly, people. Because their population is not even up to, the population of these two major ethnic nationalities. Yes, ethnic nationalities. Well-read, well-traveled. If you go to Nigeria now, I must keep saying it. I have a friend today. Maybe he must be watching me. Dr. Olumide. Dr. Olumide. I met him in 2003 as a student in Germany. 2003. Dr. Olumide came into the city of Kiel in Germany, towards Flensburg, at the border. It's a very small town, Kiel, in Schleswig-Holstein. He came in with a scholarship, but when he came in, he asked, people he saw were Cameroonians. He asked them, does he have any Nigerian around? And they brought him to me. I saw him, I never met him anywhere. Olumide, if you're watching me, you know the story I'm saying, in 2003. I never met, because he's my brother, because he's from Nigeria, I took him in. Olumide is now in Denmark, a dentist, a senior dentist for that matter, one of the best they have in Denmark. In Belgium. That's where he is now. I took him in. He came into my hostel, and I gave him one. He was telling me that one of the finest egusi soup he ever ate, and I thanked my mom, because my mom, many of you that grew up, when they cook, I had two sisters, my elder sisters, two of them. When they cook with my mom, you cannot get out. My mom will make sure that you are there. There was no blender. My job then was to pound. They would put crayfish, put pepper. My job was to pound it, and if you pound it in anger, sometimes the pepper will just enter your eye. Wallah, if that pepper enters your eye, my mom will flog you on top of it, because that means you're not being careful. You're supposed to be gently doing it. So what am I trying to say? Here is a Yoruba man. I don't know their village. I have never met him. But because he's a Nigerian, I took him in. I gave him food, because there was, many of you wouldn't know. You fly in from Nigeria in the month of February, very cold. You don't know one. He doesn't speak German. Not men like me. Then we've started schooling. Nothing. Nobody knows your name. You just be looking like Momo. It gives you succor to know that someone can accept you as one of yours, and even give you Nigerian food. Do what we call farina then. We buy them from Plus. Do farina, grease. Give him food. Normal, just eat. It's like semovita. To eat. And from there we became friends. When I import cars abroad and I sell them in Nigeria, in Lagos, the most trusted ally, if he tells me it's A, I can go to sleep that is A, more than my close relationship. It's the Yoruba. So there are good people everywhere. Yes, Awolowo. In a bid to win the war, when he said that the Biafran soldiers were eating the food, meant for the soldiers. And he used starvation as a weapon of war. That was criminal. That was unpardonable. But people, we have to move on. We have to look in the brighter side of life to forge new alliances. The Igbos must forge alliances and forget the past. A professor, again, I don't know, I keep saying it because this professor, I keep arguing with him all the time. He's a professor of political science. He once told me that Igbos didn't vote Abiola in 1993. As a professor, I will be disappointed that you are making this. Now, Igbos gave two states in the Igbo nation gave Abiola votes. And NRC won, SDP won in two states, NRC won in the rest. Why? After all, their son, Sylvester Ugo, was the deputy president. So it will be, and who doesn't like, what is happening? And I said, sorry, sir, it is not on record that Yorubas has ever voted an Igbo person, because if you tell me that an Igbo person has never contested an election, I'll say, okay, that's true. But did an Igbo person wasn't an Igbo person in the PDP convention in Jos? What am I saying? There is 1,001 faults we can find in order to dislike each other. But the Yoruba nation and the Igbo nation must come together. They must begin to, like Abiodun said, that the day the Yorubas and Igbos cooperate, then it is either a peaceful separation. A peaceful separation. Because, that is what is holding us back. Let me say it the way it is. The only reason we hear this rubbish is if the Yorubas and the Igbos wake up today, as Nigeria is, if we wake up and said, the thing don't tire us, we don't do. That's it. Who is going to fight you? All you see some states, Kwara will say, hold on, Ejo, make we join. Before you know it, Benue will look, what did happen? Make una wait, make we come. Kogi go they say, where we there? You go they still they do back and forth. But eventually they will. They will. It's either we get what we want or we go our separate ways. Is it too much to ask? Is it too much? So we must forge ahead. These two regions must forge ahead. Now let me come back to Harold Smith here. Now, and that's what Harold Smith said about the East. The East is good in business and technology. The West is good in administration. Yes, I agree. And commerce as well. Law and medicine, both. It was a pity we planned our agenda to give power at all cost to the Northerner. You see again, Harold Smith at that point was regretting it. When he granted this interview, he said, it was a pity that it was a pity we planned our agenda to give power at all costs to the Northerner. They seemed to be more submissive and stupid of a kind. Our mission was accomplished by destroying the opposition at all fronts. The West led in the fight for the independence and was punished for asking for freedom. They will not rule Nigeria. Does that make sense? Now, look at the names you will hear that fought for independence. You will hear from the legend Herbert Macaulay in Lagos, who tutored all of them, whom Zik took over NCNC from. Herbert Macaulay, Southwest. Dr. Before you now have people who were following Zik, they call them the Zikists. You have late Chief Awolowo, Southwest. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Southeast. Mbonu Ojike, Southeast. When you hear those names, tell me one, not two. Tell me one single name if you can remember. Maybe I'm not reading the proper history book from the North that you can remember that fought for independence. Tell me, I'm waiting at the comment section. One single name that you can remember from the history books. And we have people like Mbazurika Mechi. Those are Zikists. The boy is good. I hope to bring him out to here and interview him. Those are encyclopedias. In one of his BBC interviews, which I so much liked, he said the reason we went to war, which was needless, the Biafran war was needless, was because Ojukwu put those intellectuals and the leaders that could have advised him in house arrest. And I believe him, and I know that because like Philip Asiodu and co and the Oba of Benin were advising Gowon the things to do. If Ojukwu had those caliber of men, not young men like today that will say, no, come, let's go, let's go and shoot everywhere, say everything. You can see youthful exuberance. Because you don't go into something just like today. When you tell some people, no, it's not, it's not actually act of cowardice to sometimes talk about negotiation. Imagine for some reason that, yes, we didn't, Aburi Accord was discarded. But imagine that negotiation were pursued to a point where something else was gotten. We wouldn't have lost. We lost about over 400,000, during the massacre that happened, even in the Southwest. Again, according to what Femi wrote, that Southwest cannot exonerate themselves, even at that. But the casualty and the destruction wouldn't have gotten to that point. And maybe the acrimony as well, and like when some of us say that Awolowo promised to Ojukwu that if he declared Biafra, he would declare. And I say, well, you see, these are things we heard growing up. But now we can question that assertion, because that assertion to me doesn't stand. Ojukwu had an executive power as the governor general of the Eastern, the military governor of the Eastern region. He had a territory he was controlling. Awolowo was coming out of prison. He had no executive powers. So it beats me how he would have made such promises. If he had made such promises, how would he fulfill it? Because he couldn't. So that's why I said the Ojukwu and the Awo at that point were not on the same scale. Ojukwu had the powers within because he controlled the region. It's just like someone who is not a governor today tells you, okay, if you pass grazing bill in your state, I'll pass grazing bill in my state. How? You don't have any member in the parliament. You don't belong to any political party per se. So how are you going to do that? You don't have any executive powers to put in executive order or executive bill. There is nothing you can do. So it's just a mere wishful thinking. What I'm doing here, this analysis this evening, is to, from both sides, to say that there's been errors from both sides. But we must understand the powers behind those, the powers pushing and amplifying those errors. We knew. It is easy to, today we know that the Southwest control the press, the conventional press. But the social media space, we know who control it. That's why if you say anything against those that control it, wallahi, your inbox and your generations will feel the heat. So you see, that's where it is. So the essence is mistakes were made both sides. Mistakes were made both sides. But it's time, people, we must go on. Now, it is time to actually bring Harold Smith once more. Now, listen to this thing. Before I go and I'll begin to bring people in. So listen to this here, and this will interest you more.
To be here. Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Harold Smith was a young, bright, and principled Oxford University graduate.
Did you hear that? He was a young, now, an adjective was used, a young but principled. Not everybody that is young can be principled, but here he is being referred as a young and principled individual. Okay?
Who was recruited by the colonial office and posted to Nigeria. He took his final examination a year ahead of his class. He also married Miss Harold Smith, whom he met while they were both at Oxford University. Together they went to Nigeria, where they had their 2 children. Mr. Arrowsmith, you were featured in a program recently by BBC Radio 4,
yes.
titled Document,
Yes.
and that was hosted by Mr. Mike Thompson.
Yes.
You were alleged that the British government rigged the first and most important election in the history of Nigeria in 1959 in favor of the North. Correct?
Yes.
How long were you in Nigeria for?
From 1955 to 1960. And we
I say, so he was in Nigeria for 5 years. So for someone at his level that worked in Nigeria knew what he's talking about. He was in Nigeria for 5 years, from 1955 to 1960. Now let's hear from him.
based in Lagos. I was on the staff of the Department of Labour. I was largely occupied with employment problems, all the employment exchanges, and statistics and international reports, and was kept pretty busy. I was also stationed in Lagos in charge of the capital and the port. I was the port labour officer as well, and I also devised a port labour scheme and later a social security scheme, which was one of the first in Africa, which guaranteed workers some income after they'd finished work. A senior civil servant.
Okay.
I only intended to stay in Lagos. Actually, government wouldn't let me leave the civil service. They were determined that I should stay in the civil service after my 2 tours. And I was offered very considerable incentives, including a knighthood, to stay.
You hear that? They even offered him a knighthood. OBE. They offered him a knighthood in England. Continue.
Work for government. Primarily this was because I had access to state secrets.
So he had access to state secrets. And what is this state secret? He's employed in Nigeria. He had access to, the one that, and please, any Yoruba that you know, forward this video to, because we must all hear this to remove this hatred and this burden from our mind. The one that blew my mind when he talked about the reason why the British made sure that Zik and Awo did not come together. They blackmailed Zik because of ACB. They blackmailed Zik. Zik had a bank then. They said he was involved in some shady deal. They blackmailed him that if he didn't go and do this deal, he would be in jail. Now you ask yourself, because it never made sense to me that someone will leave. Awolowo has already agreed. Yes, NCNC has more vote. We are the junior partner in this. Now you will be the prime minister. It never made sense to me until recently why you will refuse to be the prime minister that you've been dreaming of and go for ceremonial nonsense. Now let's continue.
I learned, and the Governor General himself confirmed this to me, that the elections were rigged, contrived.
It's painful. The same way we know the elections that are being rigged today. Remember in Anambra State, Chris Oba openly said it with his mouth that he rigged the election that brought Ngige. Eventually, the Supreme Court removed Ngige. A nation, so the madness didn't start today. Was Chris Oba punished? Was Chris Ngige punished for stealing someone's else mandate? Yes, he's today a minister. It's not about Igbo or protecting your own. No. We must begin to apply justice. Someone else, the person must be punished.
Was that the North should rule Nigeria. Even in '56, Northern leaders were very proud and were saying, if they run Nigeria, never mind elections.
Mm-hmm.
They might not join Nigeria. They might leave. And we all thought, well, how?
So don't you, listening to him now, don't you feel, if you can wind back the clock of time, don't you feel that Zik should have resisted and said, yes, we must form the government with NCNC and the Action Group, and if they want to leave Nigeria, they should leave. That wouldn't, don't you think that would have saved off this, this madness and headache that we have now? Don't you think that would have happened? Don't you think that all these people hiding in trucks now would have been like people invading a country? Because they will be coming. We will see them like maybe Chad or Niger or even Ghana or Burkina Faso. Don't you think we might not have this Boko Haram to? Please imagine it. That's why the South is different. Apart from when the Niger Delta were destroying the pipelines in order to get to the federal government, but again, I argued that they were destroying their lands. But aside that, there is no other region that you and I know today that will consciously be destroying their own region the way the Northwest and the Northeast is doing today. And you wonder, how did we come here? The British were the ones that sowed this seed of discord. Now let me continue before I bring people.
They survive. There were no industries. There's not a great deal of agriculture, some groundnuts in the north. This wasn't very practical. The Governor-General seemed to be thinking that the North couldn't, even if it won an election, rule Nigeria by itself. The South wouldn't stand for that. So there had to be a partner, either the Igbos in the east or the Yoruba in the west, to team up with the North. What he didn't want was for the two southern parties, the Igbo and the Yoruba, to team up to form the government.
I don't know how you feel, but it's painful. I've listened to this before I'm playing it. I've listened to this more than 5 times today. And every time I listen to it, it's painful to listen to. Isn't that the same thing happening today? Because the election, the country has been configured. Zik was used. Since then, it has been an alliance between the Fulanese and the Igbos. Let's get the facts right. It's only in 2015 that Tinubu came into the mix. Suddenly, the Igbos, because they supported and they gave their support to Goodluck Jonathan and the Yorubas for the first time, came into the mix. If the Yorubas probably had stayed away, we wouldn't have this mess here. We won't have this mess. But sometimes you cannot blame Jonathan as well, because, the level of corruption that, whether real or imagined, that was happening, and a man felt like he couldn't get a grip. We read amounts of money being being accused and here and there. You see, a lot of things was the CBN, the open vote, PDP campaign. They will go and withdraw money from Dasuki. Is CBN and Dasuki the PDP treasury? So the whole thing just makes your mind. You want to just get sick.
He believed the North wouldn't tolerate that and talked about leaving the Federation. I learned, in a small way at first, but very rapidly I learned about the election fixing. As I say, this was confirmed to me by the Governor-General. He actually said that...
Now, this was confirmed to him by Governor-General. Who was the Governor-General as of the time of independence? James Robertson. The Governor-General confirmed this to him. So, it's honestly, sometimes I thank whoever invented these technologies, that we can look somebody in the eye, in the face, and say these things. Even this video I'm making now, in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, maybe Mars is dead and is no more there. People, my children, my grandchildren can go back and say, this is what daddy was saying when he was alive. They can watch me, look at me, see the passion, the pain with which I say these things. They can say, this is what daddy stood for. Now, what are you standing for? We cannot continue this hate, people. These are the people. He's going to blow your mind. Just stick on. Make sure every Yoruba man watches this. I'm going to make sure that so many Igbos will see this video as well. Because it's time we begin to tell ourselves the truth. Yes, the Igbos and the Yorubas, we have hurt each other, but the time to, to stop is now. Else, you and I, all of us will be run over. Our bushes, our moms can no longer go to the farm. The Yoruba bushes are not being occupied by the Yorubas. The Igbo bushes that people fear to go into today are not being occupied by the Igbos. Neither are they being occupied by the Yorubas. There is no Igbo man in the bushes of Yorubas. Igbos come to Yoruba land and build houses. Build houses to stay. They don't stay in the bushes. The Yorubas, when they come to Igbo land, they don't build. They might stay in a hotel unless someone posted by the federal ministry. They would stay in normal rent houses. They are humans. They don't go into the bushes. Here we are. We cannot come together. Today, up to today, who are those that killed Fasoranti's daughter? What has happened to them? Let's go.
Because he wanted me to know how much trouble I was in.
Statistics you were collecting figures for labor and unemployed people or general?
Primarily, but my interest was in the population. Yes. And Awolowo, the Yoruba leader of the action group,
yep,
and Chief Enaharo, they too, other people were saying, where are all these millions of people in the north? Well, we're going to their campaign, we want to know, And you see all these, thousands of miles of not very developed countryside, and yet the northerners are claiming that...
People, get your earbuds, clean it properly. The bomb is about to be dropped. Did you hear that? Did you hear what he just said? That the people, what the northerners were claiming in terms of population, when he traveled, he doesn't see them. Let me see if I can scroll back a little bit. Okay, now listen, pay attention. If anyone is disturbing you, let that person get out of your way now. Pay attention.
The northerners are claiming that their voting registration figures are larger than in the south, larger, far more people up there. Well, actually, if you went through the Igbo land, Enugu and that, you saw lots and lots of people.
I said it yesterday. It is only in Nigeria that you will be going down through the mangrove, down through where you have rivers and you see less people. It does not happen. Nowhere in the world will you go to far north where you do not have vegetations and you see more people. It does not happen. It does not happen. Use the air. Sometimes, I think one thing I will do, I have a bird service. One time I will do a program on Google Earth and I'll prove something to us. If you look at the population density of Ibadan, someone shared a picture on Twitter one time, just an aerial view of Ibadan. It automatically clicks because you can see houses. And if someone tells you that Ibadan has 2 million population, of course you would agree because you will see that they are living somewhere. Get into Lagos, get into Makoko, getting into Ajegule, you see all those bachas. You will know that there is population here. But suddenly, you come to somewhere, they say, oh, they gave the president 1 million, 2 million, 3 million votes. Now look at area view. You see nothing. Are they now Ewi or grass cutter that live beneath under the soil? This is the same thing the man is saying because he has traveled. He went to Enugu. He said he saw people jam-packed. He saw people jam-packed. There is traffic lights in almost all the southern states. Look at Lagos. People leave their houses 3 o'clock. If Zen, tell me where you have traffic light in a traffic jam in Kaduna or Kanu or Zamfara or Yola. Tell me where. Tell me where you have it. And we want to allow this fraud and this deceit to continue? No. No, not within this generation. We are now wiser. Mistakes were made, but we cannot continue the crap narrative to continue. And this is what some people are giving thumbs down on this. This, and I'm thinking, where is your sense of history? Didn't you read history in school? Can't you even now? Today you don't need to go back to school, but today you have avalanche of videos. Oh, thank you. Whoever is giving me thumbs up, thank you. And do more thumbs up. We have close to 100 people watching now, yet you only have a couple of thumbs up. Thank you very much. So let's continue. But now pay attention here.
If you went to Ibadan, again, Ibadan teeming with millions of people, but we didn't actually see many northerners, and obviously not many northerners at that time came to Lagos. So this did arouse suspicion. Now, Europeans, not stupid, watching what's happening in Nigeria, and we too are beginning to feel something not quite right here, that maybe the elections are not going to be as straightforward as they're meant to be. Nigeria was being described as the showcase of democracy, and it was expected that the nationalist leaders would go through. But actually, when the election results were announced by the Governor-General, the vote, he didn't vote for that, he didn't wait for that. I have to tell you, British.
Because the British already knew the way the vote was going, they began to announce the result before. In some cases, he says these things. It appears it's 2019 election. Before you know it, on Twitter, they are conjoining. They already, you see them, APC, PDP. They are already conjoining results. Oh, APC is leading this, and you wonder the same thing. So where did they learn it? In Igbos, when the mother goat chews, the small one looks at the mother in the mouth to learn how to chew. That's actually, look at it, where your problem started. It was the British. And thank God, it's just like I keep saying, no one is all wrong and no one is all right. Yes, the British brought the mess, but again, it's the British man that is also exposing it. Look at it.
And the British cannot be trusted. They look after their friends. Loyal.
And who is their friend here? The British cannot be trusted. He said it. Harold Smith. He said it. The British cannot be trusted. They are looking after their friend. And I asked the question, who is their friend?
It's the big thing. And we were friends with the emirs of the north. We looked on people like Inaharo and Awolowo as rather dangerous people.
You see, again, because Inaharo, Awolowo, Zik, these were people smart. When I say this, listen, I have said this in this channel. I never knew I had something upstairs. I'm not boasting, but until I went to Germany to study with their own language and come out with one of the best results in their own language. Wrote everything, the exams written, all you need to do is just, now I can imagine someone who is now, sometimes think they're making you compliments. Say, Mazi, you speak good German. I'm like, no, stop. It's not a compliment. Because they think, this person must be smart. No. You know, I'm just trying to just oppose my own self to the people, our old leaders. May their souls rest in peace. May the God, the Creator, forgive all their shortcomings. But now we know why they couldn't do those things, because they were to run 100-meter race. On your marks, get set. While they were getting set, all our leaders from southern Nigeria had heavy blocks, engine blocks, tied in their back foot. Piam! While others were running, our leaders couldn't. They couldn't, because something was holding them down. And what was holding them down? Now listen, the bomb is coming.
They might even be communists. That's ridiculous, actually. They couldn't be communists.
Exactly. They were accusing Enahoro that he might become a communist. And he said, that's ridiculous. Enahoro cannot be a communist. Can Zik or Awolo will become a communist? People who have already, how could someone who has gone to America to study, read everything, and come back and become a communist? Come on now.
1,000 years. But this was a sort of thing that was being said. And we were, Europeans, were getting a bit worried about all this. It wasn't quite the honest, straightforward election that we were hoping for.
Apart from Professor Anderson and Dr. Wilmot that supported your submission on the rigged election, there were other people who also served in the colonial office in your days. Who opposed to this submission?
Initially, I was warned of what was going on by my senior officer, a Major Bunker. I didn't know, and I knew that the Governor-General had directed me to take all the office staff of the Ministry of Labour to help Chief Okoti Igbo in politicking in Warri. And this was most irregular, and I refused to do this. Having refused an order, I know what the drill is. You resign. I resign my post. That is the proper thing to do.
Have you ever seen a Nigerian appointee or politician resign? No. The moment they get into office, they stick their ass with glue in that office until death do them part. Even Obasanjo, if he was allowed, he would have gone for third term. Look at all the governors, emperors. That's why, because they cannot let go. That's why they'll finish as governors 2 times. They go into the Senate. Doing what? But look at him. He was tasked to go with Oketi Igbo to go and campaign for him in Warri, and he said no. But today, the same thing that the British implanted is still happening. In the presidency will have a meeting of his party in the chambers, in the presidential office, where you have presidential seal. Where does that happen? So you can look what was happening in the 50s. The same abnormalities, the same mess is still happening.
What they did then was rather devious. They persuaded me to withdraw my resignation, and when I did, they sacked me. It didn't go through, but I thought it was a bit low after I'd resigned and was prepared to come. This was not very nice behaviour. They later withdrew this and said that I had been of some service to the state, and actually commended me for what I had done, and said I could leave Nigeria with splendid testimonials and wish hands on this. And this was done with the recognition of the Deputy Governor-General, Gray. And then I left Nigeria the first time and took up a job as a personnel officer, a very big job, with the Esso refinery. And then government came after me, declared that I was a traitor, and I had betrayed the British people, imprisoned.
No.
And I lost that job. And then they came to me again and said it's all been a big big mistake. Dreadful mistake. I'm a jolly decent chap, you know, Oxford chap, and they put me on a plane straight back to Nigeria.
Look, a man that has resigned, you said he wouldn't resign. You brought him back. Again, they brought him back because they know he had content here. But the British, in their dubious nature, didn't want him to stay back in England. Because if he stayed back in England, maybe as early as 1950 something, he would have spilled the bean. They just wanted to have him close so that he would not spill the bean.
Up for the time I'd been away. There was a great deal of good work for me to do, and we fell for this. We shouldn't have gone back, but we did.
Now, if you recall what you said about the role of the Governor General and the attitude of the British in particular, regarding the fear that Awolowo, Okotie-Eboh, and the lot of them from the south are dangerous, is there a particular reason?
Look, you see, it's getting interesting now, people. This is the climax. The British considered Awolowo, Okotie-Eboh, Pa Enahoro, Dr. Nanda Azikiwe, Mbano Jikedem. They considered them dangerous. Why? Because they knew what the British knew. The same way they considered Odumegwu Ojukwu dangerous because they knew Ojukwu knew, they trained him, they studied, you know. So many of us that have actually had the privilege to study with them. It's only when I have studied with them, I mean, you eat their food, you find out there is nothing special about them. You write an exam, someone that this is his mother's language. All you need is you put in your student ID. You write an exam, you come in, you have A, and he has maybe D in his mother's language. You are struggling. Now, remember, first of all, your brain translates from my brain translates from Igbo to English before it now goes into German. You read it in German, first of all, it goes that same backwards again. So if it takes a German 3 minutes to read a page, it might take me up to 6 or even 7, because sometimes you formulate a sentence, the Germans put the verb at the end. You know, somebody can be saying something, he said weil, which is because. Now, the because, what next? What happened? Weil, it goes off. It can take him 2 minutes before, blah, 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 blah. So you're waiting until the person says that verb, you don't know what he's talking about. So many of us watching you now, I know John Okolie, you understand what I mean because you live in Germany. So it messes your brain. And there you go there and you still come out with flying colors. So you stuck with them, they know you know what they know. They know the society. They are not more intelligent because they marked your freaking paper. They gave you the scores. In abroad, you can't bribe anybody. So that is what is happening here. Why were they afraid of Awolowo? Why were they afraid of Dr. Nanda Azikiwe and Anthony Nahoro?
Yeah, from the British government. Is it that they don't want to release or relinquish Nigeria? They still want to control Nigeria?
They knew that the North would do as they said after independence. If it had any, the North would just, because it was their habit, they liked the British, whereas the nationalists were an unknown factor. Actually, when they took the flag down and hoisted the Nigerian flag, not one of the major nationalist politicians was there.
Exactly.
They weren't even on the platform.
What's wrong?
Incredible. These were the people who had sought independence. In the North didn't want independence. They didn't want the British to leave. So this was a farce. For most Europeans who were very close and watching this, we were disgusted. We thought this really had been manipulated, this election.
Does that make sense?
Does
that make sense to you? The reason why your president, who campaigned that he would stop medical tourism when he became sick, with cumulative about 4.8 billion naira that has been budgeted for the Asoro clinic. But when he fell sick, he runs. He goes to London. 103 days he packs the presidential jet and they are treating him. After they finish treating him, he comes back looking younger in your own expense. Yet the British cannot tell you what they treated him of. He cannot tell you what they treated him of. Do you now see where that bond with the British is coming from? Because, I mean, imagine, for instance, just imagine for 1 second that Jonathan was sick and was flown up. It's the Southern, all of us, we will be the ones, even after 1 week, Jonathan, come, this, that, bah. Who were the people that protested in the Ojota 2012? Did you see any protest in Kaduna? It's Lagos. The heartland, the southern Nigeria. It's Lagos. You saw one in Port Harcourt. But now, where are the protesters? People are dying in their hundreds. Service chiefs are so incompetent. They could not secure anyone. Where are the protesters? At the election eve, what we will see is bullion van moving. You see why they keep doing it. Let me allow him land more.
People, this is an honest, straightforward thing that you would expect Britain, the mother of parliament, to do. This was cheap and low and criminal. And I opposed it. I opposed it then and I've opposed it ever since. And I'm telling you the truth. And I was warned. I told you this state secret. My life could be forfeit.
Earlier on, you said the British wanted no alliance with either of the southern region, either with the Yorubas or with the Igbos.
But with
which they
they can't do it this
rule the country.
The problem was that Awolowo was a highly principled man. Okay. You didn't.
Listen, hate Awolowo, love Awolowo. I agree with what he just said now, 1,000,000%. Awolowo is a highly principled man. His peers were busy accumulating useless. Look at the finance minister, look at Okotie-Eboh. You know, wallowing in opulence. Awolowo was busy giving his people free education, building television houses. Awolowo was busy crafting. Listen, I don't know. I think Awolowo wrote maybe over 20 books. Yet this was a man very active. Yet he found time. In all his active nature, he still found time to pen his ideas, to put it in black and white. And this is it now.
Talk to Awolowo about squalid deals and fixing things. Awolowo was not that kind of person.
See, Awolowo people, this is Yorubas and Igbos, this is the point I want you to pay attention. Awolowo would not have struck any deal to get himself rigged in because he believed that if he campaigned properly, he will win. The same thing with Zik. He believed that if he campaigned properly, the same thing with Zik. But here is then what happened.
This man was a world statesman. And
Awolowo was world statesman, not elder statesman, world statesman. Look at him here, talking about it. Awolowo was world statesman.
Young Lieutenant Chief Enaharo was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. However, they did do a deal with Zik, Dr. Azikiwe.
Okay.
See, that is it. They did a deal with Dr. Azikiwe. You see, this concept that a president comes from the north and vice must come from south is just pure arrant nonsense. And that's how it started. Because we wouldn't be in this mess if Awo and Zik, the two best minds we had in that time, ideas can cross-pollinate. But, because they couldn't. Because the British didn't. And that's why it has continued that because it apparently become a tradition that a northerner and a southerner must. It's now enshrined even in the constitution with the concept of 25%, that you must have the spread. If you have two brains, imagine, for instance, we have Kingsley Moghalu, for instance, and we have, who else? You know, another brilliant mind from Yoruba nation in Nigeria that is in their need of leadership. Or let's say Kingsley Moghalu with Professor Osibanjo, or Professor Osibanjo with Kingsley Moghalu, however you want to spin it, it doesn't matter. But we can't because of what the British has implanted in our brains. It has to be north and south. Everything, it has to be north and south. It has to be north and south.
East. Dr. Azikiwe, there was this big problem in Nigeria. It's the same big problem in America.
Azikiwe had a problem. Azikiwe had a problem. And they got him. The Yorubas, we must forgive ourselves. Since I saw this, it changed everything. Since I began to listen to this, my mind opened. I'm no longer blaming the Yorubas, and I want the Yorubas no longer to blame the Igbos. We are holding ourselves. These are lies being told that you and I must hate one another. It is arrant nonsense. We don't need to hate one another.
How do you get funds to fight elections? The candidates in Nigeria, they did have marketing boards, which were kind of semi-nationalized industry. And they borrowed money from marketing boards. But there was a suspicion that Dr. Azikiwe, who has formed his own bank, the African Continental Bank, was actually bankrupt. But he was borrowing very large sums of money from the marketing boards and not necessarily.
You see where Zik got it? African Continental Bank was bankrupt, but he was borrowing money from the marketing board. And the British knew it. And what did they do? They threatened him that if he does not agree to form government with the North, they will jail him. That's it, my people. Zik was threatened that if he does not form alliance, they will threaten him. They will jail him. And listen.
We knew this. We had a great secret service. All the politicians' phones were tapped. All the politicians' mail was opened. Everything that any major politician did in Nigeria, we knew in hours. We watched. We knew all that was going on.
Are you saying, in essence, that Dr. Azikiwe took money?
He was blackmailed by the British to do our bidding.
You see, at this juncture, people, I will drop the mic. See, words fail me. Many of us that were born at that time, we grew up believing lies that Zik hated Awolowo, that Zik wanted to get back to Awolowo. Some people even linked it to the allegation from Ojukwu that if the Biafran go, the Yoruba nation will go. The Yoruba nation couldn't have gone because Awolowo had no executive power like Ojukwu. All these things are fabricated in order to hold us down, to begin to hate one another. You heard him now. The British held him by the jugular at the Brokosh, squeezing it. The Brokosh, squeezing it. And we are here. We are. You come online. It's Igbo, Yoruba, Igbo, Yoruba. Yorubas are not trustworthy. Omo Igbo are not trustworthy. If you give Omo Igbo money, take. Igbo, Yorubas, he promised this. They are all lies. If I have done anything on this channel is to dissuade our mind that we were being lied to. Open our mind and open the brain. We cannot continue this way. Because the two ethnic nationalities are not coming together, that's why the mess continues. But the day we will say, it is enough, we will now put Nigeria in a pedestrian. The Biafrans are taking this pain at some point and they fought a war. Yes, they lost, even when they said it's no victor, no vanquished. course, everybody knows we lost. Again, it will be idiotic for us to fight again. But collectively, if we decide and wake up today, say no, finito, Nigeria, we no want again, no be by force to marry this marriage. Who are they going to fight? Fight the South, South, Southeast, and the Yorubas combined? Impossible. It's not possible. But if the South South now want to, we the Ijaw nation, we want to declare whatever Ijaw nation. Well, lie. The Middle Belt or everybody, they will just troop their troop. If the Southeast does the same thing that would happen in 1967, even today, that even the area called Biafra is a big conflict. Ijaw will tell you we are not Biafra or this, that. And I tell my Igbo people, listen, I'm tired of whether you call it Biafra or anything. I am, listen, as you see me now, ethnic nationality, Igbo nation. Let the Igbo nation, let the Ijaw nation, let the Shekri nation, and let the Yoruba nation, let the Efik, let the Anang. Let them be their nations of their own. And let the collective South come in and form a nation of nationalities, the same way you have it in England, as in the United Kingdom. You have the Welsh, you have the English, you have the Scottish, you have the Irish. They're all the same. When they go to play European Union, UEFA Cup or whatever, if the Welsh qualify, they'll go. They can play even a World Cup. If they qualify, they can play against England. But it's the same country. I want to see where the great Igbo nation will play Odudua in African Cup of Nations. I want to see where the great Igbo nation will play the Ijaws in the African Cup of Nations and play the Efik. But when you come back, you can still use one currency for Christ's sake. What are we saying? Let us not dissipate our energy in, pursuing something that it can't come, and at the same time it's going to hurt you. First of all, let's build this unity. Listen to the old man here, how they held Zik by the jugular, by the brocoche, squeezing it, tightening it. That's what they did. Listen.
We told Dr. Azikiwe that he could go to prison. An inquiry was carried out into his bank and his financial circumstances.
Meaning Zik, even Zik, was not financially prudent. I mean, truth, no matter how it hurts, must be said. We don't need to defend Zik because he's my brother from Igbo. No. If he got it wrong, in this case, by the evidence, by the testimonies of Harold Smith, the reason why he did not agree, the reason why, because he had an option. He could have said, damn it, probe me if he was clean. But he knew that if ACB, if his bank was probed, he's going to be in trouble, and they've already told him. It's like, remember when Lawan, I can't remember the name of the guy, when Lawan was this rubber stamp Senate president we have now, when he was about to become the Senate president, there was this man that was contesting with him. He's a northerner. But I think EFCC agreed to drop some of his cases, his charges, I think, which was one of the things he negotiated with Buhari, and he stepped down. So it is political give and take. And that's what has happened in this case as well. Zik was held by the jugular, and Zik was powerless. He couldn't do anything.
However, we were not to be vindictive if Dr. Azikiwe was cooperative in helping forward the plans that we had made in the best interests of Nigeria.
Best interest, my foot. It wasn't in the best interest of Nigeria. The plan you made in 1959 is what is still hurting us now. Not in the best interest of Nigeria, just to advance British interest, not the interest of Nigeria.
Dr. Azikiwe has nothing in common with the northern politicians.
Exactly.
In fact, he loathed the north.
Oh dear, God bless you for saying these things. Azikiwe had nothing in common. Today we have nothing in common. It's not even that he was saying, today we had nothing in common. If I move to Kano today, I will be sleeping in a hotel, and I'll make sure that my hotel has air condition. But someone comes down to the southeast, is looking inside the bush. It's, for Christ's sake, we don't have anything in common. It's not only Azikiwe, myself included. Our priorities are wrong. You can't want to marry 4 wives or 5. It's not my priority, for Christ's sake. I want my children to have the best of educations. If JAMB is 250, I want them to have 270. Not to bring JAMB down into 180. It's not my priority. Our priorities are different. It's different, for Christ's sake, for crying out loud.
Some politicians. But Zik Awo went north and did as he was told. And what he was promised was this. Real power, effective power, would be in the hands of the northern emirs. However, it would look great if the president was Dr. Azikiwe and he was given a field marshal's uniform and an admiral's uniform. He asked, please, could he have a row of medals? But they said, well, no, that was a bit difficult, to get the medals. So when the ambassador started arriving, he was known to be asking people from foreign countries, perhaps they had a medal for his uniform. We thought this was terrible, but it was said that this happened. He was very vain. And for a time, he functioned as first the Governor General, and then when Nigeria became a republic, as the president. But he had no power.
Exactly.
And when he did,
he understood. Oh, sugar. The thing just. Honestly, I feel so emotional. I feel so emotional. Honestly, I feel so emotional right now. Zik knew this. Zik knew it. Zik knew it. But he was coerced British forced him into this marriage. Hence, we ended up with this contraption now. Zik knew it. Ceremonial. Now, because it didn't make sense. How could Awolowo have said, Zik, you will be the prime minister. You have the power. You have the number. I will be the finance minister. Imagine the synergy. Imagine where Zik and Awolowo will sit down to have a meeting. Imagine the kind of conversation. Imagine the kind of conversation. Imagine the kind of conversation. Let me just imagine Zik and Awolowo now sitting down here with myself. Here is Zik, here is Awolowo. Imagine the kind of conversation 3 of us will be having. Do you think we'll be having a conversation of cow colony? We'll be talking about how we have ranches. How can we pass laws that we can have state or regional police? How can we pass laws that we can get ranches? We should be talking about how much can a state, how much can the Southwest put on the table? What will be the interest rate, minimum interest rate that will give people 10 years, 5 years loan and go to Brazil, get the type of cow that will survive here. Give people, make sure that in 5 years' time, you should be producing this. You should be. I'm not talking of how to do Ruga. I mean, man, I tire. I weak. I listen to this, and it weakens me how we missed it.
he said in the old model, the army has got to do this. They said, hey, you're just a ceremonial figure. You have no power.
Pardon me. They had to tell Zik he had no powers because it kept them to give him a pin-up of field marshal or whatever. But he didn't have powers. But he knew it. He was learned enough. He knew it.
Prime Minister Balewa gives us out. So they were feeling then that there was going to be trouble. And then it was because the Awolowo and the Action Group had become the official opposition. What we British wondered, how could they win the election without the British counting the votes.
You see, they've rigged the election 1959. They were now about leaving. They knew their interests were still in jeopardy because these two people could come back. They were thinking, if we leave, how will these two smart people take? What can we do for them not to take over power? Then listen.
There would not be another proper run election without us there. We knew what we were doing, we were helping things along. You know, we were doing what the British do, favouring our friends and looking after our own and repaying favours. We don't call that corruption.
I feel
Right.
like crying.
I mean, in essence,
But they're
what
here
Dr.
shouting
Azikiwe
corruption.
did, it was forced by the British government to do it,
Yes.
collecting money from the marketing board then.
Yes.
So if any politician here in the United Kingdom tried to do that,
Yeah.
so why did the British government refuse to take action
Because
or comment on
if we nipped it in the bud, because we knew it was happening, it was even happening in, let me be fair, in the West with the Wallowa. They were taking some money. They meant to repay it perhaps, but they were taking money. And I would have said, issue a warning now and say, you know, you've got to behave.
Yeah, you see, the stealing didn't start today. The stealing, it has stayed. The stealing, and that's why when they see you, you see anyone that says anything, EFCC will come. They will open book. The reason why some of us can say what we say and go to bed, sleep like babies, is you can go and look into their orifices. There's nothing there. We're not interested. That's why some of us apparently might not even get into politics. Might not, because the whole thing just gets your blood so hot. Let's
Because if this is allowed to go on, it'll be a major offence. However, before they actually ran the 1959 election, they needed money for the North and for the NCNC, Dr. Zik, to fight the election. So what they did, my senior officer, Major Bunker, went around, was ordered by the Governor General to go to all the major British firms and international firms, Ford, UAC, Leventis, all these firms, and raise money for a slush fund to enable Igbo to go with the North to fight the 1959 elections. The North got most of their money from the native authorities. This was looked on by the British as being okay. This wasn't corrupt because we were friends of the North. And if they tried this in the West or...
You know why I laugh, I shake my head? I've listened to this. Someone, Ganduje Gandola, caught on camera. We hear nothing about that. Do you people remember during the Jonathan time when we have Farouk Lawan, who was caught on camera when Otedola was giving him money? Was he jailed? Did he go to jail? Remember the speaker, Gali Naba. No, not Gali Naba. The first speaker that had a Toronto certificate. Was he punished? Somehow, exactly what he says here, that it was some of the things that were happening in the North were corruption, but the British overlooked. So somehow, the whole thing has been carried over. 60 years later, from the same region, you catch a man in full glare of Babariga, stocking money up and down. And what a president could say is that they don't know which technology they used in doing that video. He went to Kano and raised the same man, his hands up, and yet this is the same man that is fighting corruption. The same man, your head of EFCC, has been indicted by your own body, the DSS that reports directly to the president, said this man is not fit for this office. Now we are 4 years going, if not 5. The same man has been in acting capacity. Does that begin to give you a glimpse of where the issue lies? It's something that was being trained and they've given it to them and it's now being sustained. Yorubas and the Igbos, stop fighting yourself. The problem is not yourself. The problem is infused. This video this evening will help you to begin to think twice and see the Igbo and the Yoruba as not your enemy. The South, Southern Nigeria, this video is for you. You must begin to come together as one. Stop insulting yourselves on the social media. Stop insulting and calling yourselves name. It is time to come together as one and liberate yourselves. None of you can do it alone. No. Biafrans have tried it before and they failed. Remember, at the point they did it, they were a region. They had sort of like, they had weapons standby. Today they have nothing because even the police is nowhere controlled. You don't control. Tell me in the southern Nigeria where a southerner is the commissioner of police in that area. None of the states. None. You can't do it, but you can do it. You can come together and lift yourself. Come together. No one can do it solo. If anything, I'm saying it this evening, no one can do it solo. It's no solo thing. We have to come together. I'll round up now and allow you to call in if you want to call in.
North, the authorities, public money was poured into the government party, the NPU. So this obviously was a terrible fiddle. We were discriminating against the southern politicians in favour of the areas. What we saw was that this would not be the first act of treachery. They would have to smash the action group because the action group was strong. And in a fresh election, be sure to win. They were pretty honest and regular guys, and a lot of the British quite admired Apollo for his brain power, and they admired Chief Inachro and young and spirited. And they were both quite admired. They were like bragging Labour people, nothing revolutionary. And so a great deal of money was raised by my senior officer, Major Bunker, before the 1959 election. This was money put up by United Africa by Ford, Shell, BP, and my wife, who was the personal assistant to the general manager of BP Nigeria. She's not going to tell you anything because she was a confidential secretary. I can only tell you that we were very well informed on some of the hanky-panky that was going on in Lagos.
Having revealed now that the election of 1959 was rigged, the census figure were cooked, I don't know if you have been following the ongoing in Nigeria today.
Yes, of course.
The last general election,
yes.
The 1979-1980 election, in which Azekwe was the beautiful bride, and
I have to tell you, sir, that I'm not going to comment.
Okay.
I cannot interfere in Nigeria's domestic politics. I'm a historic figure. I do keep up, naturally, because I love Nigeria, and I've kept up with its history after this.
You see, this comment here, the reason why I post this video is because of this comment. Igbo and Yorubas will never work together again. Stop fooling yourself. You see, if I ban you from this channel, listen, rather than come here and make such comments, you can basically tune off. Just go away. It's not meant for people like you. We want, yes, it is, you are part of the naysayers. You say, oh, go and fight for Biafra. Then go and take the Biafra. You think you can get Biafra without alliance? Oh, go and fight for Biafra. Come on, time to wake up and use your brain. Stop behaving like a cucumber. Sorry. How can people be behaving in this manner? Oh, yeah, keep hating. Keep hating. You know, you hate, you keep pushing hate to the point you will be left alone. You have no ally. Begin to retrace your steps. It's as simple as that. If you don't want to be here this evening, please take your leave. It's not by force to be here. I have over 100 people now, 123 people watching. So please, you honestly, you mustn't agree with me, but don't be stupid and silly. Anyway, so that's conclusion here. So you can start ringing in now. We'll be rounding up now, so it doesn't go
and
long.
dictatorships. And this has been one of the biggest tragedies in world history, because this potentially was one of the greatest nations on earth. Nigeria was packed with educated, decent people who wanted to serve their country.
See, that job that the
Biafra One Voice. Thank you very much for that.
Threatened or behind you
I hope you
to
learned.
say that you were disloyal to them and you were fired. Have you ever worked any other place since?
Fine.
Have you worked in any other company
Yes.
since?
Anyway.
I didn't go to Oxford in the usual way. I came.
So thank you very much, everyone. This is the end of that video. And the conversation can now, if you wish to call in and make your contribution. So I have how many more minutes? I have about 12 minutes. And, you know, I don't want this video to exceed 2 hours so that it might be easier for people to share and watch. But again, reason why it's taking this long is that we needed to, because it wouldn't help if I was the only one here talking all the time. I needed to sometime play this video in order to get to the to the issue at hand. Ben Okafor says, "Why don't you accept criticism?" But that is not criticism. That someone is just saying something out of the point. It's no criticism. He's not criticizing me. He's not, he's basically saying that Igbos and Yorubas will never work. That's no criticism. Yeah. Yeah, hello. Welcome to Njenje Media TV. Okay, can you speak up a little bit? You sound as if you're in the other room. Can you speak up a little bit?
Okay, yeah. I'm just watching you right now, Mazi.
Yeah, thank you very much. Where are you calling from?
Bukhara, Florida.
Okay, Florida. Oh, okay, my friend from Florida. How are you?
Good.
They have not allowed me to come to Florida. I was supposed to be in Florida again, but the flights are still cancelled.
I know. I mean, Corona is messing up with us.
Yeah, Corona also.
Yeah, I can't even go to my rotation in the hospital because of the Corona stuff.
Okay, so go ahead. What's your contribution?
Yeah, I'm very, very glad for the expose you just did. I mean, the whole point is the British, they keep going around, this whole holier than thou attitude. Their prime minister even had the temerity to say, "Oh, Nigeria is a fantastic corrupt country," whereas the Brits, they're the most corrupt of all the countries in the world. They went around, taking other people's resources, building their own economy, and now, seeing this whole expose, like, I've been wondering, like, why is it that Zik, who was very well educated, came to the States, studied, was way ahead of these guys. I mean, he was, you can't say that he was at par with Awolowo, which is, we still see that today. If you go to any school here in the United States, like, you see Igbo, you see Yoruba, they're competing against each other.
Exactly.
I've never seen an Hausa Fulani here in the States. I'm just being honest. I'm in medical school. You know, you see Igbo, you see Yoruba. You see Igbo, you see Yoruba.
Listen,
You know,
when I let me jump in here. I moved from Germany to Netherlands, that's Maastricht, to study European studies. Then we had this is a contingent that what's it called? Obasanjo sent to come and do masters to help when he was doing the pension reform.
yeah,
Now they came in, my dear. These are people who were living in hotels paid by Nigerian government. They were, at least they were living in hotels. Myself, I was living in Cannes, that is in Belgium, and I cycled every day from Belgium. I mean, self-sponsored from Belgium to Maastricht every day. Going two countries on the weekend. Three countries. You go to Aachen, which is in Germany, for party. You come back to your hostel, which is in Cannes, and on the morning you go to Maastricht. Why am I telling you this? Two people could not graduate, and they are from, guess where they are from? They couldn't, because when it came to international competition, they didn't know that. It wasn't part of them. I knew the things we did in order to help, that eventually they were like, we helped to push them to go back Nigeria to Nigeria, not to be disgraced. So I understand what you're saying. So go ahead.
yeah. So I mean, so the whole point is, you hear about Nigerians making waves in the United States. Like it's mostly Igbos and to some extent Yoruba, especially when you come to the sciences and technology. Like you go to NASA, you have this young lady, this young Igbo lady there. You know, you had other ones that were was there prior. I mean, he's very well revered here in the States at NASA. You talk about Dr. Bennett Tomalo. I mean, you have so many people, that have contributed to science and technology.
Bennett
Here in the
Omalu,
United
is he not
States.
the one that Will Smith played that in that
Exactly,
video?
exactly.
The
Exactly.
brain is it?
Yeah, the brain pathologist.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Very brilliant
It's
guy.
a very
He
brilliant
went to
chap.
yeah, he went to Federal Government College and went to UNN and then came to the States. I mean, even though you can see the politics and racism fighting back, oh, he
Exactly.
didn't find this. We know the game. That's just by the wayside. So the point I'm trying to make is, I've said it prior in my other discussions. I kind of engage people on YouTube all the time. I mean, I'm fed up with Nigeria. Sometimes it feels like, oh, I'm for Biafra. You know, getting Nigeria to work is a noble idea. That's the point.
It
But
might
if
not,
people take
actually work, because, but the other thing is that we must have to be a strategic people, because if you burn all the bridges, you eventually have to work on foot. So the
yeah,
other
yeah,
thing is,
yeah. So the point I'm trying to make is the reason why you see people, even in Namde Kano, pushing this whole Biafra, he keeps talking about the Yoruba. He's not saying it because he hates the Yoruba. He wants them to step up and
yes,
come, so we can have an alliance. So
yes,
because you keep saying stuff slowly in Nigeria, they won't listen to you. The reason why when Nnamdi Kanu broadcast, everyone is listening because the way is very forceful. Everyone is listening. And I've been, I commend you guys in Njenje Media for always carrying his broadcast.
Mm.
The guy is getting on the nerves of these people. The people in power, they hear this guy. So the Yoruba should not see, he even said it like he has family that are Yoruba. The aunt married a Yoruba person. So how can you hate your own blood? It's not
yes,
even possible. So when he's saying all this stuff, he should, no one is against Yorubas for going to alliance with the Northerners. But the whole point is, if you're going to go into alliance with a Northerner, why don't you bring someone that is brilliant? Must it be the man from the other room? Like, it doesn't even make sense. So
whoa,
the whole
whoa, whoa,
point
whoa, whoa,
is,
whoa, whoa. No, no, stop. The man that is not active in the Azar room is only there because he has 11 to 12 million votes standing by. You will know the test of APC after this election. that means
Yeah,
they will
sure.
be on the same pedestal with PDP, 0 votes. So whoever, because you never have anyone in Nigeria again that will have that level of, because he has proven it. Even when PDP rigged him out in
Yeah,
2000
was there, yeah.
in 2003, 2007, and in 2011,
Yeah,
he
he kept
he
getting
kept
that
exactly. So it mean because he was been able to brainwash his people to see him as
yeah,
like as a god that is going to
yeah, the Talakawa.
alleviate them. But suddenly, they are the people that are now saying that Okwa people are here.
Yeah. So I mean, the whole point is like someone else made a comment on different posts on YouTube saying that it's good that I think it was Michael Denta from Njenje Media saying that it's good that Buhari actually got to be president because if he did it then he died they'll be like, oh,
Yeah,
this is the best president Nigeria has ever
never
had,
had.
or
Yeah,
blah blah
I
blah.
listened to
So
that as
now
well.
exactly. So everyone has seen that this guy is way incompetent. He doesn't even know
Nah.
what he's saying. So, the guy that went to Germany and was talking about West Germany that was liquid, that was since they existed 1990.
Western
I mean,
Germany.
come on.
And
No,
Michelle,
yeah,
speaking
Angela, yeah. And then
speaking to
and then
Michelle.
he said that Germany had a president. He didn't even know that Germans don't have president; they have chancellors.
Oh dear.
So, I mean, but the whole point is, Igbos and Yorubas have made it I've made it, said it times and times again. So they have to come together. They are the two leading tribes in Nigeria, the most educated. They have the most wealth. Forget about this whole Dangote stuff. Like overall, Igbos and Yorubas on average, their citizens have the best well-being of all the citizens of
Of
Nigeria.
course, and the Yorubas, you must note, are also an accommodating people because not every people would, kind of take some of the things happening in their land. Now, having said that, when you talk about competition, it's about the South. You know, if we decide today that for people to get into jam, they score 250. You see a Yoruba man, it doesn't matter even if they do expo or but you see that competition because they have to compete. And you see an Igbo man competing. I mean, studying in Nigeria, I remember that we during exams we go to classrooms with lantern to study because there was no
I
light.
mean,
So
yeah,
it's
it happened to me that way too.
so
Yeah, when I was in Nigeria.
so many of us excelled when we came abroad. When we went abroad to study, suddenly I had anytime I turned on the light, there was light. I mean, there was no reason not to because you've been suffering. You've been basically suffering too. Remember,
Yeah.
studying in Nigeria, we used to write three papers in one day. But studying abroad, no one ever would give you a paper today and give you tomorrow. I mean, it's being considered as abnormality that your brain couldn't cope. So suddenly you have such level playing field. Why won't you excel? You know, and honestly, before now, I've been questioning why Zik until recently that I began to see these documents and this information to understand why Zik actually did what he did because it didn't make sense. You could be
Yeah.
prime minister
Yeah.
and you settled for ceremonial what? I mean,
Yeah.
it made
I
no
mean,
sense.
again, that's the whole reason why history is banned in Nigeria. No one is allowed to teach history. So the whole point is just like for me, I think the two main ethnic nationalities, the Igbos and the Yorubas, they have to come together. You know,
They must.
you
They
know,
must. I mean,
they must have to come together because we can't go in Biafra. We can't fight for Biafra by ourselves again. It's not possible. The pressure that Nnamdi Kanu is giving with IPOD is just trying to lure these guys to come in.
every
Forget about the way he's saying
It
it.
doesn't. No, no. The way he's even saying it's not the issue. You see, the I don't think there is any issue here because in such struggle you need what Igbo say inibe if inibe mboba. If you don't be mboba chuba, you need that kind of tone. You need the diplomatic angle. You also need the elders. You also need the traditional institutions, the ones that will back you if anything happens. You know, because in Igbo again, sorry, but I cannot help to put in proverbs anytime because there are some things the way my brain is wired. My mentor Chino Achebe always said that proverb is the is the palm oil with which words are eaten. So and that's who we are. You know, so the Enibe is a concept that you can't do it alone. You need everybody involved. Okay, you need everybody because we don't want a repeat of what happened in '67. And now, knowing that actually Zik did not betray Awolowo, the Yorubas must also know the truth.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's hence I'm doing this broadcast this evening. The Yorubas must also know the truth. That
I think the whole point is just for politics, the political purposes. Because I'm here in Florida. I used to be in Georgia for my rotation. The guy that was my preceptor, he's a Yoruba guy. He went to Ife. Very nice guy. He was very, I had so much. He was my best preceptor, because I'm trying to become a medical doctor. So I had to go through my rotation. So he was an internal medicine doctor. Very nice guy. He took us to lunch like several times. And he's even going to write me a recommendation letter. So I think the problem is not really on average. Most Yorubas are fine with Igbos. But you have those ones that are just fine for the whole politics stuff. Oh, Igbos are a problem,
Yeah, but I think many of us actually have experience. The first opportunity I had to do a presentation to the United Nations, that was 2005. It was given to me by a Yoruba professor in the University of Maastricht. So, in the Netherlands. I didn't know him from Adams. I think he was, then he was a pastor at the Redeemed Church. Normally in Nigeria, when you come in on Sundays, everybody wants to go to church. And it didn't matter if he was a Yoruba pastor or whatever. So we just, on a Sunday, we went to church and we went to this church. And, afterwards, and because then I'm a drummer, so I played drums. I played the drum during the church service. Afterwards, we started speaking. I came to find out he was a lecturer at that university and at the same time coordinating that, foreign students can have the opportunity to do some leadership training within the United Nations. So I applied and there and then he signed it. So you understand. So it's like it's what I'm saying is he did it because he saw competence, and that's what we should be. And that's why I could not understand that Zik, who was competent, who studied in America, like you and I. Someone who has seen it, and suddenly will allow someone who is not even qualified as we don't know. Well, I give it to him. Well spoken, but the golden voice, well spoken, but intellectually they're not that par. Zik,
I think in the final analysis, so I can drop so others can call in. I think the Igbos and the Yorubas, the Yorubas should come out. There shouldn't be any 2023 elections unless that country is restructured, no matter what, so that regions will have more power. Let them occupy Lagos and Southwest. Let Igbos do their own stuff. No elections in southern Nigeria in 2023.
We will get to that when the time approaches.
Exactly. That's what everyone should be preaching right now. Let them occupy Lagos, the ports, the international airport. Igbos,
I actually, the other time I made a video about the Yoruba Igbo feud, and I actually said something, and I mean it, and I'm still saying it now. It is time for the Yorubas it is in the best interest of the Yorubas to actually ensure that the eastern ports are working. Exactly. So they must their voice. They have Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they have Fashola. So whoever is there, they must begin to push for the eastern ports to work. If not, you must continue. They must still continue complaining that the Igbos are coming and buying their land because I mean you can't beat a child and tell the child not to cry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, just look at the lady controlling the force. How can you bring a lady from the tribe Arid North to be the MPH? There
Anyway,
has never been any Yoruba to be the MPA boss. Like, it doesn't even make sense.
that
So
is
they should be in the forefront of championing so that this country is restructured. But now the so-called Bola, he can't even talk. You guys put the whole restructure in your manifesto. Now you can't even talk.
no.
Like, it doesn't
Don't
make
don't don't
sense.
don't even go there. That's a pure scam because even the man himself denied it. A man that allowed them to talk about restructuring even when he thought he doesn't believe in it, and afterwards he won the election. Now you talk about
Yeah.
restructuring, he says those that talk about restructuring are not being sincere. And I say,
Yes, yeah.
Oga, I am not sincere. I know I am Mazezok, I'm not sincere. Don't do my own restructuring. Go back to your 2015 document. Whichever one you have there, just do it. We are happy with it.
Yeah.
It's listed there. It is listed. They said
Yeah.
it said the
I mean,
unbundling the exclusive list. It is listed. Just do it. We are happy.
that's what restructuring is all about.
Exactly. Just do
Like
it. Now you are telling me
you
that you
have
don't
this
understand what
yeah,
restructuring
you have
is.
this Tanko Yakasai. You have this Tanko Yakasai telling this story.
Of
All
course,
of us
I had
understand.
one of my
I
programs.
mean
Yeah.
that was just bullshit. Sorry for using that word. That was just bullshit. I mean this northerners they feel like they're smart, like, and that's what gets me. How can they be playing the two most intelligent
Honestly,
ethnic
and we are just like Mumu. Okay, what is it that we're
Exactly.
extracting? We will come 2050. We will come 2023. I keep saying it. What was it that we extract from them? Since the time I got it, we are talking about Southern Niger. Anyway, let's. I don't want to get angry tonight. Please, it's enough
Yeah,
because the
so
whole thing boils.
my whole point is, that's what everyone should be preaching right now. Before 2023, the Lagos should be occupied. They should come out, occupy the international airport, occupy the ports. The Igbo should do their own. The Ijaw people, all the minorities in the south, because that's where the fund for running Nigeria comes from. If you blockade those areas, they don't have any choice than to come to the negotiating table. But if we keep dividing ourselves, Niger, it doesn't matter. If you live in a Joland and you have any pipe, blow it up. If you have anyone that comes to Imo, blow it up. Abia.
No,
So that these people, I mean,
no, there might be no. There might be. You
if you
see,
don't do that, these
no, no,
people
no, no,
won't
no.
listen.
There might be
That's just
another.
me.
No, there is another angle to it. See, I know in anger you can say that, but look at it this way: you blow it up. You cannot, because you're angry, you blow your house up because when the environmental degradation comes, it is your land. You're killing your moms. You're giving them cancer. You're killing
Well,
your brothers and
I mean,
sisters.
if there's any problem with the line, they have to shut it off anyway. So it's not as if it's going to, like, move everywhere or
No,
wherever.
because
So
when
the
that's
point
that's
I'm
the
trying
thing.
to make,
But
like, if these
sabotaging,
people, yeah,
sabotaging where you shut it off without any leakages, yes. But
okay, so
just
I mean,
throwing bomb and
if you
blowing
can
them
do
up,
that, yeah,
splashing your land, you're basically burning your own house. Anyway, thank you for
yeah,
your
yeah, if you can do that without spilling, but I mean, that should be the next phase of this struggle.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much. Wow, that was a very long conversation, and I think many of you also, I can see from the comments, liked that conversation. So people, kindly allow others to phone in. So Ogunlaye, Ogunlaye Adeni, I want a Yoruba to call in because let this not be an Igbo discussion. Ogunlaye, can you please call in? You are the one saying that I should allow others to call in. Okay? So Ogunlaye, I'm putting you on the spot. Can you please call in? Because this point here, I know, but the reason why we stayed long because there was no other caller waiting. So if I saw another caller waiting, I would have cut him off. But in this case, can someone watching me who is Yoruba, can you please call in? Because it's a conversation between the two ethnic nationalities that we need to begin to have this conversation within ourselves. What's it called? Clifford said, man says, okay, you have separated brothers at each other throat. I mean, Yoruba and the Igbos. The dagger on the hands on each other's life. No, we have to. We have to separate the fight. If not, somebody will do before you know it, you go hear blow. So we got to separate the fight, my brother. Oh dear. Uh, my time should not be more than 40 minutes. No, I couldn't do that in 40 minutes. Sorry, because the videos alone is over 20 minutes and you need to analyze that. I take that on board. Other videos, I will make it shorter. Okay, so when I do videos, I make them short, but when I do analysis that I have people to call in, usually longer. Okay, that's why it's unconventional. This is not Channels TV. This is in Njenje Media TV, and we, you know, can stretch it and make it more convincing and more sorry, and allow people to call in and have their say. So on that note, if I'm no longer having any other caller this evening, on that note, I will say everyone, thank you for your time and thank you for being with me. I know so many of you have kept faith, over 100 people listening to me this evening. Thank you once more for joining me. I am still Mazezoke here. Like the video, make your comments. We can make that the comment section. Brothers and sisters, collectively we can get what we are looking for. We are looking for to.
Very poor family, and left school when I was 16
Sorry,
years old. And I
sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it is not, it makes no sense if we continue going the way we are going right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, because either we like it or not, the Igbos cannot do without the Yorubas, and the Yorubas cannot do without the Igbos. So, I don't know. All what I just want to tell you is thank you.
You're welcome, my brother.
Thank you so much for doing this program.
Thank you. So all you need to do on your own part is to share the video to other Yorubas, because we need to begin to think about this. You know, I think the British configured our brains and lied to us about the things that happened before. And like someone said in the comment section, we never understood why, even when before Zik died, why he couldn't write these things out. And I think maybe he was, because it has to do with maybe corruption charges or allegations. He didn't want to put them out. I don't know. But be that as it may, here we have the truth. We now have this truth to work with. Know that we were lied to. That Azikiwe and Awolo was actually in the verge of forming alliance, because they give it to them. They were both smart people. Okay, thank you very much for the time, sir.
All right.
Okay, have a wonderful evening, sir.
You too, sir.
So, on that note, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for those that have called in, and thank you for those that have kept faith. Like I said, please share the video, like the video, and we can meet at the comment section. And I'm there. I will be at the comment section if you want to ask anything. I would still be there to take your comments. Thank you very much. Thank you. And have a wonderful evening.